Welcome back everyone to a brand new video. Today we are going to be doing a review of Marvel's Eternals. At this point I've seen it. I've seen it twice and I think I have a pretty good opinion on how I feel about the movie. So real quick before we dive into this, I do want to alert you guys, there will be spoilers in this review. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, save this video, go watch it because you should be already watching it. And then come back to this video and check out my review. So with that said, if you guys are new here, consider hitting that subscribe button, and let's dive into it. Alright, so I want to start off with the good. Just general, I love the big feeling that this story brings to the MCU. I mean, the fact that the whole world literally could have exploded because of the Celestial coming out of it was an amazing concept for a movie, and especially introducing the Eternals in that, you know, obviously the Eternals have to have a big enough foe to the point where it matters. And it is a little concerning to see how they're gonna use them in the MCU without overpowering them, but we'll just have to see. One of my favorite things about this movie is the emotion. For example, when they're in Babylon, and it was right after Thena had calmed down, they had her on the table, and Droog starts talking about, oh, well, why should we listen to you, Ajax? And he's so upset. And first of all, I love Droog in this movie. I think he's a fantastic character. But especially in this scene, you really feel how betrayed he's felt all these years by listening to Ajax. And the fact that he's able to stop all of it with barely even a thought it's really heartbreaking, because then he has to go watch that knowing he could have stopped all of those, you know, killings. And another great example is later on in the movie when we see Phastos and we see him crying to Ajax because of Hiroshima, and the fact that he helped technology advance so far that they could build huge bombs like that is just, I mean, that's insane. It's absolutely insane. And I honestly almost cried at that part because it was just a sad moment of history. That's also a big part of this movie. It feels like you're going on a roller coaster through history, but also it's a slight different history, obviously, because we don't have the Eternals in real life. But I really liked the emotion in this movie. It was really, really well done. Really well done. Moving on to the characters that I was just kind of talking about, for the most part, I felt attached to each and every character. To get in specifically, one of the characters start with the least characters I didn't really get into. Sprite was one of those characters that I didn't hate her character, but it felt like I just wasn't as into her. Even though we spent a little bit more of a time with her in the movie than we did most of the other Eternals. My point being, though, is, well, I'll get into that in the mixed part of this review, because that's just something I want to talk about there. But as far as my favorite Eternal in this whole movie was Droog. I just think that he is, first of all, he's so well balanced because he can't fly, he strictly can mind control people. That's his, that's the only thing he can do. But he's living in the Amazon, he's trying to protect these people, and I love the accent. I don't know what, they gave him this really good accent, and I just thought he was a really well done character. And he also, you could see the relationship between him and Markari. And I just love his character because he's not he doesn't hate the Eternals, but he's not one to just follow just for the sake of following. And I like that. I really like that about him. Going into some of the other Eternals, I really was elegantly surprised by Phastos and how much I really liked him, especially with just the family aspect that he has. And especially in the final fight against Icarus, I love the contraptions that he reaches out and pulls Icarus down, draining his power that's using it to hold him down. And then we see just the different ways that he was able to come up with different things. And I also liked his character was like this like nerdy kind of guy that was like just making all like, ooh, this is an engine. And I just thought that was really, really funny. Another thing I can talk about with this movie is that the comedy is fantastic. One thing that really sticks in my head, as I'm sure if you guys have seen it already, is I can't remember his name, but Kingo's cameraman. When they go to the Amazon, they break his camera once. They break his camera twice, and then he keeps pulling out like different cameras to like record. He's like, and I think Kingo like, yeah, he blasts the head of a deviant. And Kingo asks him, "Oh, did you get that?" And he's like, "Absolutely, sir." And it's just it's really, really funny. I thought he was great comedic relief, and at the right points too. It didn't feel similar to like Thor Ragnarok, where it's just all comedy. It didn't feel like that. There were definitely their serious moments, and I really liked that. Okay, I guess I could talk about the deviants as well. Yeah, the deviants in this movie really felt a lot better than I thought they were gonna be. I thought they were just gonna be your average CGI enemy, and it just felt like it really, the whole movie, it was kind of building up to this fact that like, you know, they were gonna have to go after the Celestial, but then like the deviants were also like inching their way closer to like trying to almost become the Eternals, like one of the Eternals, because they, in the very beginning, they get Ajax. This is the ability to heal, and then they get Gilgamesh, and they even like use that to like draw out Thena, and it's all just great. Honestly, I thought it was fantastic, the deviants, and I think that they played their role to the point where it wasn't too much screen time, but just enough to give us that satisfaction. Kind of going back a little bit to some of the other Eternals. I love how modern day Cersei is working at like a museum, like teaching in London. I thought that was a really cool touch. And that she's with Dane. I thought that was really cool too. And I love, I'll get to the end credit scene in just a second. But I love her, I love each one's powers because they all feel like they're not too overpowered to the point where like they could, like, they have flaws. But that's something I really enjoyed about the movie, because like one of my biggest issues with Captain Marvel is that she's this person that can fly, she can do this, she can do that, but she doesn't have any flaw. Like they've written her to be this character that doesn't have any flaws. Whereas Icarus is like essentially almost the same thing, but he also turns on the group and his mind, and he knows. And so like that's his flaw internally. Not internally, eternal, ha ha ha. But that's just one of my favorite parts about this movie, especially Markari. Like, she might be fast, but that's like her thing. Talking about abilities for a second, one of the best shots in this whole movie is when they're fighting Icarus at the end of the movie, and she like pounds him into like the side of the island, and she's like just going back and forth, and it was fantastic. I just thought it was really well choreographed, if that's the right word. Moving on to some other points, I think this movie did a really good job of setting up this new corner of the MCU perfectly. You know, especially with that exposition scene of like the grand idea of what the Celestials want with Cersei. I think that was really important to the MCU. Because as much as I love Guardians of the Galaxy, it's always going to be one of those movies where they're still not like these grand beings. You know what I mean? So we need, like, the Eternals were really our introduction to like, how big can we, like, you know, how big can we really go for on this? And they did not stop. Like, they just kept going. And I love one of my favorite things about the movie, and although it's like a small, like, you know, part of it, not a small part of it, but just not many shots of it, is when they do like that explode, like the rings come out and then the ball comes back in, and you see that opening shot of just how close in scale the Celestials are to the Eternals. And I just think it looks immaculate. It just looks fantastic, because it really gives you that scale, especially at the end of the movie when the Celestial comes and takes Cersei and Phastos and comes and takes and just reaches out and like I thought that was awesome. I really thought that was awesome. It just shows the scale of how, you know, powerful these creatures are, or creatures, yeah, creatures. How powerful they are. Moving on to my final 2 points that I have here. I'm one of the people that actually did enjoy it. I think Harry Styles is going to be good as, I think it's, yeah, Eros, yeah. I think he looks fine. I think he fits the tone of what the Eternals are. Yeah, I really like his character, and I love that he's the brother of Thanos. And then he had that guy Pip with him, so I thought he was pretty cool as well. I'm excited to see them in the future of the MCU, for sure. But the big like end credit scene with Dane Whitman opening the Ebony or seeing the Ebony Blade for the first time was just, oh my gosh. I remember like erupting in applaud in the theater. I think it was fantastic. It really was amazing. And if you guys didn't know, at the end, obviously there's a voice that calls out to him. I think he says like, "What are you doing?" or "Don't touch that." Something along those lines. Chloe Zhao actually went ahead and confirmed this is Blade talking to Dane. So we just had our first, technically not on-screen appearance, but Dane is now officially, or not Dane, Blade is now officially canon in the MCU, officially, because of that movie, which, that's pretty cool. So that's the kind of how I feel about the whole good part of this movie. Let's move on to the mixed. All right, and moving on to the mixed aspect of this film. It's really not too much that I have to complain about. I have one major complaint that I'll talk about in the bad part of this movie. The mixed. Kingo not being in the final battle. This really disappointed me because I really liked his power set. It felt like he was going to be in the final battle. I mean, yes, he had the very funny personality, but he had like the pew pew pews, and it just, I just wish he was there, honestly. But this is again why it's mixed, because I understand that if he wasn't there, if he was there, that it, you know, defeating these people would have just been not too hard. But without him there having the pew pew pews, it was a little bit harder. And I kind of like that, if I'm being honest. I just really liked Kingo's character in this movie. I thought he was really funny. And I thought he had a cool power set, especially like in the Amazon when he's firing the guns and choo 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 choo. I thought that was really cool. One of my other mixed things that I feel about this movie, I'm sure you'll all agree, I understand what Marvel is trying to do with the whole Sprite and Icarus thing. In the movie, if you're sure that, I'm sure you guys know by now that Sprite, they reveal that Sprite is in love with Icarus. Now, I understand that this means just the character. I understand that. Here's my problem with it, and here's what I think they could have done instead. Or actually, I don't even know if they could have done this, but I don't know. So, obviously it's revealed that Sprite loves Icarus. Obviously it's weird because the actress that plays Sprite is only 14 years old, and the actor that plays Icarus is in his 20s, late 20s, maybe early 30s, somewhere in that range. Obviously that's weird, as, you know, filming wise. Not in a story sense, because in a story sense, Sprite is very, like, Sprite might have the appearance of a child, but she's been around for as long as all of the other Eternals. So, you know, she's actually like 5,000, 10,000 years old, however, millions, thousands of years old. But it was still a little weird seeing that. I'm not sure what they're gonna do with that, considering both of them are alive now, but Sprite is human, so I guess we'll have to see what happens there. Yeah, I'm also not sure. They said they made her human, so does that mean that her powers are officially gone? Like, she can't make illusions? They weren't really clear on that. I never. So I guess we'll have to see. I guess we'll have to see whether or not she will have her powers. My one final like mixed is, there were some points in the story where it did drag on for a little longer than I would have liked. but nothing too major. The part I'm really getting at is when they went to, there was a part, when they went to see Gilgamesh and Thena, there was parts there that dragged on a little bit than I thought were necessary, but for the most part, it was fine. Yeah, that's really all I have for the mixed. Let's move on to the things that I didn't like about the movie, which there's not many. All right, and with the bad part of this movie, there's really not much other than I would have liked more time with some of the characters. I don't think that they spent enough time, which it was hard because this is the first introduction. They have to have the story, they have to have the action. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do. It was already hard enough with Guardians of the Galaxy 1. So I think that by by Eternals 2, or when we see the Eternals again, we'll feel more comfortable with them. I will say, I did like Ajax's character a lot. Obviously we didn't get to see much of her or Gilgamesh, but I really did enjoy their characters, and I hope that we do really get to see some more time with each character in the MCU. So with that said, guys, I want to know what you guys thought of the movie. Definitely, like I said, if you're at the end of this, well, you've either had it spoiled for you or you've already seen it. Leave me a comment what you guys thought of the movie down below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What didn't you like or did you hate about it? What parts were you kind of just nixed on? Who was your favorite Eternal? All stuff kind of like that. I love having discussions with you guys in the comment section about all of that type of stuff. And if you guys want, so upcoming, I'm going to have the Eternals members ranked and how much I like them, and then how where this fits into the grand scheme of things in terms of where this goes in my MCU ranking list, which there are now 30 properties in the MCU, which is crazy. So Spider-Man Far From Home will be the 32nd because I believe Hawkeye will be the 31st, which is crazy. But with that said, guys, I will see you all in the next video. Peace, guys.